Okay, kettle is on, door is closed. Let's talk about sexual assault in the music industry. Yes, that's how I'm going to open this, I think. Okay, it's green tea, thank you for asking. Yeah, it's good. It's way too hot. I always find I have to leave it 20 minutes and then I come back and then it's cold. So, welcome to my world of nightmares. Yep, so sexual assault in the music industry, not loads of fun. Take this as a content warning now. I don't go into anything particularly super grisly, but it's still on the topic either way. But yeah, well, here we go, essentially. So, yep, that's the content warning out the way. People who get mad about content warnings are also gone. So let's get into this thing. Part 1, a background as to why this even concerns me in the first place. Well, I'm doing parts now. I could do the H-Bomber Guy parts. Are you proud of me, mother? Could I do that bit as well? Okay, so I first heard Rammstein in about 2009, featured in the game Guitar Hero 5, with their song Du hast. I was probably 15 or so, but struck by the razor sharp, like very gainy guitars, pounding drums. But yeah, it was the lyrics, or more accurately, the language of the lyrics that really stuck with me. The lack of understanding of what singer Till Lindemann was saying actually struck a chord in me. I'd never really been one for languages. We don't really do languages that much in the UK in schools. I mean, there's a bit of French and there's a bit of Spanish, and if you have a proficiency for it, then they tend to push you to do it. But other than that, it really isn't that high on their list of priorities for the curriculum. So it really wasn't anything that I really sort of gelled towards. But hearing Rammstein for that first time, it seemed like it seemed in my head like a code to be broken, each word a step forward in understanding the bigger picture that he was trying to paint with words. And then after that that moment, I proceeded not to engage with Rammstein for another 10 or so years. So yeah, really left a mark. But the next time I did, it really would spark something that would change my life forever. So it's 2015. Me and my fiance had at the time been sort of going together for a couple of months or so. We decided to go for a cabin holiday, as you do. But on that fateful trip, it decided to completely chuck it down with rain. So yeah, very very conducive to outdoor activities, which is always amazing. But you know, you do what you can. So TV's on, board games out. And there's some kind of music video channel on. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but what should come on but the music video for the Rammstein song Sauna. And that was it. The music, the lyrics, the style, that Germanness that I'd remembered from before. I mean, not only was it a liking of the music, but I knew that I'd found, well, maybe not exactly at that moment, but I certainly later knew that I found what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. It'd be German in some way, shape or form. That itch of a code that couldn't be instantly understood but needed piecing together word by word and phrase by phrase, building an image, a worldview of a culture completely different from anything that I'd experienced before, all starting with a music video and a rainy day. I, like many people, started learning German through the language learning app Duolingo. So simple exercises for learning the basics of a language, building a vocabulary through nouns and verbs and such. It's an excellent starting point. And at that time I would also rinse Rammstein's back catalogue. So consolidating a lot of my learning and slowly learning the bigger picture that Till was painting with his language. I know the albums inside and out. A career spanning 30 years. And I won't bore you with the details, but Rammstein was very helpful in remembering cases of certain common German words, to the point where I'd have certain songs to remember what I needed. But this really was just the first step. This year I finally finished my qualification with the Open University for a German language degree. So after 6 long years, it's finally done. And yeah, so Rammstein really was the basis, the impetus for what I'm going to do in the future. In some way, shape or form, it's going to be German somehow, hopefully. German and Rammstein go hand in hand in my mind, probably more so than the average English language Rammstein enjoyer, because of that education aspect, essentially. Part 2, how to reckon with the impetus of your career being accused of being a sex offender. So then June of 2023 happened. Lead singer of Rammstein, Till Lindemann, was accused of what the BBC reported as sexual offences and the distribution of narcotics, on the basis of several criminal complaints filed by third parties. There's links for everything in the description. In particular, Shelby Lynn, a 24-year-old Rammstein fan from Northern Ireland, said that she had been propositioned for sex by Lindemann at the backstage party in Vilnius in Lithuania, and that she believed her drink had been spiked. She did take the time to point out that Till, and I quote, "Till did not touch me. He accepted that I didn't want to have sex with him, and I never claimed that he R-worded me." At that time, the accusations, the evidence had been collated with a comprehensive thread on the website Reddit. Rammstein host pre- and after-show parties at their concerts, and it was claimed that a woman named Elena Makieva was to pick out women, sometimes fans of Rammstein, and invite them to after parties, the so-called zero-row system. A man called Joe Letts also works for the band and was claimed to have managed the after-party girls. These parties are claimed to have been so secretive that phones were forbidden. So it was at one of these parties that Shelby reports being proposition for sex and claims that she was spiked, not necessarily in that order. She reported that she only had 2 drinks and a shot, which was offered by Till, but which wouldn't have been enough for her usually to become extremely intoxicated. She was then taken to Till for sex, even though she was told that the meeting was specifically not for sex. Shelby refuses Till, who then becomes extremely mad after being told that she was there for that. Till doesn't let her leave straight away. Upon finally leaving and waking up the next day, and after a possible spiking had worn off, Shelby wakes with large, unexplained bruises on her body. After going to the hospital, reporting what happened, the police had largely been useless. Okay, so what do we do with this information? What do I do with this information as someone who loves Rammstein? So after the accusations came out, a few things occurred. Till was dropped from his publishing house, Kiepenheuer and Witsch, who had published his books of poetry in the past. Many people who were fans of Rammstein decided to boycott shows, in particular at the German capital city of Berlin and in the Swiss capital of Bern. Deutsche Welle, the German news outlet, reports that more than 76,000 people signed a petition calling for the metal band's Berlin show to be cancelled. Though, despite this, the shows continued. Many of the fans who had just wanted to watch the show clashing outside the venue. Those such fans circled the wagons around Till and around the rest of the band, crying the usual protests of "where is the proof?", blaming the victims, nothing that we haven't seen before, time and again. On the 29th of August 2023, the BBC reported that all of the charges had been dropped against Till Lindemann due to the lack of evidence. Shortly after, Rammstein announced a 2024 European arena tour, and Till's solo project, Lindemann, has a new tour and a new album. Business has resumed, as usual. I, however, did the only thing that I could do in this situation, something that I've had to do time and again, and you would no doubt have to do again. But before I talk about that, I want to show you a similar situation with something that affects me in a different way. Rest assured, I will have comment about the treatment of the victims in Shelby later on. I'm doing a thing with the video essay and such. Part 3. Direct support. I want to talk about underground bands, musicians, specifically in the genre of rock and metal. So here in the UK we have an amazing selection of bubbling under artists that play equally amazing grassroots festival every year. Festivals such as Artangent, 2000 Trees, Burn It Down Festival, they celebrate the best of what the underground has to offer. I personally am a big supporter of the bands that tend to play these festivals. I'd love to shout some out now, but considering what I'm talking about today, I don't think it's super appropriate. But I'm sure there'll be another time. Supporting bands of this size, either financially or by following them on socials, otherwise engaging with them, is much more direct, or tends to be much more direct than with bands of the size of Rammstein, for instance. So the vast majority of Twitter pages, of social pages, but it's usually Twitter, they aren't run by social media crews, they're run by the artists themselves. This really enables you as a fan to engage with your favourite band and send a message of support. And you know that it will be directly heard. That's obviously a double-edged sword, but here we go. Websites like Bandcamp, they allow fans to show their support more directly. With the small DIY nature of underground artists, it gives a deeper sense of loyalty between the fans and the artists because it's that much closer. They're not put on some pedestal very, very high up and unable to actually be reached. They're actually DMable, essentially. So I find myself very affected by these methods of communication and engagement with an audience of this size. Smaller bands are just as, if not more interesting and more important to me than the larger arena-filling juggernauts. The point is, loyalty to these bands can be that much more intense than your average arena-sized band, given the closeness relatively between the artist and the listener. So why am I telling you about this? I want to talk to you about such an underground band of the similar kin that I've been talking about, that I have loved and supported, that I've had to completely jettison due to allegations of sexual misconduct. Okay, this is completely ad-libbed, this bit. I didn't know whether to use the original name of this band, and I'm probably not going to, for reasons that will become very clear. So I'm going to come up with some other sort of fake name for this band. Okay, I'm gonna do this on the spot. This is just gonna be the fun bit of this video. So okay, I'm gonna call the band. Okay, the guy that's involved, I'm going to call him Ridley, because I can see something in here that's got Ridley written on it. And then there's an old Clark's shoebox here. So I'm going to call the band Clark's. Okay, in late 2022, after posting that the band Clark's would be playing one of the festivals that I have mentioned so far previously, comments that have been posted in the announcement about the alleged sexual misconduct of the lead singer Ridley, that sort of came about. After a short while, it was announced that Clark's had been dropped from the festival in a statement from the festival directly. The band then went on a tirade of since deleted tweets. I would have put them in if I could find them, but like I say, they have deleted them, denying the claim, hiring a somewhat legally dubious right-wing anti-woke lawyer who was to represent them, and then litigating against two fans in particular that were raising accusations against Ridley. Despite this, many fans still stood by the band, refusing to consider the possible truth of the matter. And after months of legal process, numerous suspect tweets, and an announcement made by the festival and the two publicly named accusers, they would formally retract their comments. So why have I just told you about this? Because I've had to do the same thing as I did with Rammstein. Once again, completely eject, remove any kind of presence of the target from my life. In most cases, it's getting rid of CDs, vinyl, memorabilia, getting rid of wall art, posters, so on, things like that. I had numerous, what am I calling the band? Clarks. I had numerous Clarks vinyl and memorabilia, including an infamous blow-up doll from the cover of one of their albums. I got it from supporting the band directly when their van broke down, pledging like the highest tier and getting one-of-a-kind memorabilia. All of that was thrown out. Just couldn't stand the sight of it. It all went. But coming back to Rammstein, it was that much more difficult. As I said earlier, so much of my learning was complemented with Rammstein. That simple German words that were burned into my mind with Till saying them. The dispensing of merch can really only do so much in that case. What do I do now? Part 4. Truth. Both Rammstein and Clarks were accused of sexual misconduct in the broadest sense, and both were litigated into exoneration. Both Ridley and Till Lindemann have continued with their respective projects and continue to reap the benefits of them. I'd like to think that there is an earnest search for truth in those that are concerned about those affected in situations like these, but I just don't think that's the case. More often than not, it seems like people don't want to know. They want to remain in ignorance. So when a big artist or personality acts in a way not befitting a decent human being, they choose to shut it out. Rammstein fans that kept going to shows and they keep supporting the act, particularly before Till's exoneration, did they not know? Did they simply not care that they were potentially supporting a band with a sex offender with a string of allegations around their neck? That same attitude was prevalent with Clarks, steadfast fans that stand by the accused in an almost contrarian manner, unable to conceive of a world where their favourite artist could act in such a way. Both examples are similar, yet different. They both have accusations, litigation, and vindication, but both of them saw me jettison every single item of theirs that I owned. Do the fans of these respective bands that stood by them during this time actually want the truth? It's certainly easier for life to continue as it was before. It's more convenient. But now we come to the hard question, the one that we've been building up to. How do you deal with never knowing? Whether I like it or not, both Till Lindemann and Ridley were exonerated within the confines of the law. The BBC reported that prosecutors said that lack of evidence led them to drop the investigation of Lindemann, and as we saw, Ridley lawyered up to quash any accusations. They can continue as they did, and who knows if any of this will be remembered. The general public has a very short memory, as we all know. However, on a personal level, I have to make a choice about how much I choose to engage with the respective bands. I made my choice. I've stuck by it from the moment that I first heard the accusations. The hard part is that there's something in me that says, well, they've been cleared. Go back, enjoy the music you did before. There's a part of me that says, well, how do I know that these people are telling the truth? People lie all the time. I would love to participate in these bands again. I would love to take the easy path, the convenient path. But I know that I can't. That direct support that I mentioned earlier, that ties an artist and a listener, it's not only does it make it harder and harder for you to cut them out of your life, but each band that you have to cut out makes it harder to love a new one. I spoke to a friend a short while ago when a lot of this was unfolding, about a band that was exploding in size called Sleep Token. you probably have heard of them, possibly. They're quite a big band, but here we go. Originally, they were a similar sort of size to Clark's and played similar festivals. But in 2023, they absolutely exploded in popularity. Now they are one of the biggest rock/metal bands in the UK. I said to my friend that as much as I like Sleep Token, I just can't bring myself to love them or any new band at the moment, just due to being burnt by so many bands in quick succession. When can we participate in something in the 100% knowledge that someone somewhere isn't being abused or exploited? I'm quick to point out that this isn't a concern with Sleep Token per se. It was merely the fact that I could really love this band. I just can't get there. In a case of almost self-sabotage, I can see myself getting really invested again in a new band, that I really love, and then due to some unforeseen consequence, having to dispense with another band. But unfortunately, I think that's just life. Leaps of faith have to be made for something worthwhile. My main question was not really how can I love a band given what's going on, as in the case with Rammstein or others that have allegations thrown at them. It's how can I participate in anything with a clear conscience? People are fallible, they make mistakes. Some people in the public eye genuinely do bounce back from public mistakes. One of my favourite musicians, Devin Townsend, openly declared on his podcast that he suffered from a god complex in the mid to late 90s, making people around him feel terrible while his ego just grew and grew. Lizzo, for another example, a relationship of positive feeling between Lizzo and her fans shattered in an instant when accusations of bullying and misconduct were revealed. Something that was so against the inclusive good time party feel that Lizzo stood for. Do we accept it blindly and wholly, engaging with the content or personality regardless? Or do we constantly keep personalities at arm's length to stop the hurt? Conclusion. I hope that I have one. Despite everything, we still need to listen to the victims. Whether at the hands of Till or not, Shelby still received large bruises from the Rammstein show that she doesn't even remember how she received. Victims need to be listened to. Emotional ties to music or whatever you enjoy can be leveraged for good or evil. Unfortunately, we have to make that judgment call ourselves. We have to champion people that deserve our energy. We have to call out those abusers among us. How do we enjoy anything in this mind? That's up for you to decide. I have to do the only thing that I can do as an active participant in this music, and that is to say, in Rammstein's own words, Adieu, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen. Den letzten Weg musst du alleine gehen. Ein letztes Lied, ein letzter Kuss, kein Wunder wird geschehen. Adieu, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen. Die Zeit mit dir war schön. It took me 20 minutes to do those edits, so my tea is now at the proper temperature that it should be. I know you were worried, but thank you for listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. It's my first time doing something like this, so it's an interesting topic for a first video, but it's something that I have been grappling with for a long time now, how to deal with these bands that do stupid things, putting it lightly, thank you for listening. The tea is at an end. It's not going to become a thing, I swear. Links for all of the resources that I used and references, they're all in the description. If by any chance you happen to like the music you're listening to, that was also by me. So if you can find that in the description as well, go and give me like a thumb up and say, yes, you can do some weird ambient background music for a video you have made. Interesting. till next time, hopefully something a bit more upbeat.